Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lamb. Today I'm here with Reef Murfet. Reef is a goalkeeper for the Green Gully Soccer Club, and he's moved from Tassie to Melbourne to pursue his dream of becoming a professional soccer player, and he does PT on the side. I'm keen to unpack your story today. I think a lot of kids grow up playing sports in Australia. It's a very sport-rich country, but a few of us sort of drop it off when it comes to the VCE period or like the ATAR scores and everything. So I'm really, really keen to sort of uncover your story and how you've got to where you are. For the listeners, can you talk to us a bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. So pretty much moved from Tasmania to Melbourne at the start of 2023. So I was 20 years old at that point, obviously trying to pursue my soccer dream. So signed with Green Gully in the off season, and then moved over here to Melbourne, started pre-season, stuff like that. Didn't have a job at that point, so I was just kind of hustling. Was starting my Cert 3 at that point, so yeah, just getting into that.
100%. Now moving, I think when I think of moving and when I look at the demographic of Melbourne kids, a lot of us tend to stay at home and sort of attend, the prestigious institutions of Melbourne Uni or Monash, and no one really is like too keen to venture out unless it's sort of for exchange because of university opportunities. What was the feeling like when you did move out and step out?
For me, like obviously it was pretty tough at the start because I'm a big family man, love my family and having the support there, like your friends and stuff like that as well. So it was a bit of a challenge, but in Tasmania, like obviously the population is not as big, there's not as many opportunities. So based on what I wanted to do, I really wanted to push that next level with obviously my soccer and then personal training as well. So yeah, the opportunity over here was massive. So I thought I'd, take that step out and really explore the bigger opportunities. So
100%. And I guess I introduced you as someone who had a dream playing soccer professionally. A lot of kids have that ideal goal. Sort of what was that like growing up? What were you like as a kid? Had you always enjoyed playing soccer?
Yeah, so I started when I was 5. A lot of my family played soccer. All my cousins and stuff, my brothers, my sister now plays as well. So yeah, it kind of runs in the family, but just had a bit of fun when I was younger, and then eventually when I was probably 11 or 12, I started to get pretty serious about it. Started watching a lot of documentaries and stuff and motivational videos, things like that. So yeah, I was always doing extra training and like out in the backyard, just kicking the ball overnight and stuff, just trying to improve. And yeah, I was never really like big on parties and stuff. I would just be too busy training and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's good to have goals and ambitions. Like I've always been pretty driven like that. So I understand what it takes to, really go to that next level. And I've watched a lot of documentaries and stuff, and people explain, you got to really put it in. Otherwise, you're not going to get what you want. So I kind of took a grasp on that from a young age, and then, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how was the family in this whole instance? Like the kid, it's always great. Like their kid wants to pursue something greater in the sporting field. Yeah. And I can imagine, all the Saturday or Sunday drives down to the pitch to play and trainings as well. Like, can you talk to us a bit about the impact that they've had on you?
Oh, it's been huge, man. Like the support that my family had on me, like throughout the whole, journey of me moving after I finished school was huge. Like I used to play in the Tassie state team. I lived in Launceston, and then the state team was based in Hobart. So it was like a 2-hour drive. So, my dad would drive me down there on the weekends for training, things like that. So yeah, their support's been unreal throughout the whole time, constantly driving me to and from training, doing whatever they needed to help me. So they've always been really encouraging. Like, if I had dreams and stuff, they said they'd support me, which I really appreciated, because, some parents will be like, oh, got to look at it realistically and stuff like that, which you do, but at the same time, you also, if you want to give it a good crack, which I did, so they respected that and helped me out. So
yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I always hear about parents sitting down kids, to talk about, is this actually a realistic goal of yours to get into pro clubs and everything? Can you talk to us about the environment that you grew up in, where maybe friends were probably on the same pathway as you, but unfortunately dropped off?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, obviously, when you're in school and stuff, you have a bit of a kick around with your mates and stuff at lunch. And then I used to play with a lot of my mates at the same soccer club, Northern Rangers, back down in Tasmania. So, growing up through under 13s to under 18s with them was good, bit of fun. But they just played for the enjoyment of it, never took it too seriously, like never really wanted to go any further. But yeah, I was training with the senior team from a young age. Like I was training so we have an NPL down in Tasmania as well, similar to Melbourne, but the level's not quite as good. But yeah, I was training with them since I was 14, just putting myself in, you know, a men's like senior level environment just so I could improve quicker and stuff. But yeah, that sort of stuff really helped push me, just being in a more physical environment, you know, just doing as much training as I could. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, brilliant. I love the chat about environment. I feel like since I've broken off from university, it's like finding people who are pursuing it a little bit differently. I think like sometimes we have this path that's forged out for us and there's a lot of pressure surrounding that. So yeah, being able to surround yourself in the senior team and have that more physical nature is incredible. What was it like sort of navigating friends who sort of played for the fun of it versus you who had this dream and this passion and desire to enter a professional league?
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, like, as I'm trying to go professional and push on a bit, like, they'd be doing their own things, school, whatever, if they're having parties on the weekend and stuff, like, that's fine. Like, I used to go to some parties and stuff like that, but not too many. I'd just be too busy. I didn't really care what anyone else thought. I just knew what I wanted to do, and then I was just making sure that I was doing everything I could to kind of help myself achieve that. So, yeah, but in saying that, like, still had really good friends and stuff throughout school, and they were always really supportive. I had a couple of other mates, one in particular, Aaron. He's now playing in Portugal. Similar goals to me the whole time. Really wanted to go professional and stuff. So, you know, I was really close with him throughout school and stuff like that. Still am now. One of my best mates. So, yeah, it was good to have someone that was kind of similar mindset as well, because, you know, there's not that many people that are really pushing for that. So
yeah, 100%. It takes a lot of strength and determination to continue pushing. I think in Australia, you know, we can let loose a little bit, and the party scene is quite large. I would say that for most of the other countries as well. Like as soon as you hit those sort of adolescent years, parties become a thing. You know, girlfriends become a thing. Those sorts of things. So I know you spoke about being pretty headstrong and dedicated to becoming professional, but were there any instances where those things did impact like your life and growing up?
Not really. There was a few, but I wouldn't say too many. I think most of it was just like sometimes I find myself in a situation in a club where I wasn't the starting keeper or something. Like I'd always kind of be a bit of like the underdog or the younger keeper. So I'd always be, you know, trying to push for a spot rather than always having the number one spot. I'd always be like pushing, and like there'd be someone more talented above me, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I never really got affected by parties that much and things like that, distractions, because I was too focused. Like, I mean, I probably could have eased up a little bit and had a bit more fun, but yeah, that was just me. I just enjoyed the grind and yeah, I just fell in love with it and couldn't stop. So
100%.
Yeah.
And it's such like a privilege to find something that you're so drawn to as well. I think the more people that I speak to, the more that I hear about stories where they're like, oh, my parents wanted me to do this, or, you know, my friends were doing it, so I just did it. Whereas you've sort of come to this realization yourself, like you've fallen in love with it because, yeah, a documentary that you've enjoyed watching, or you just enjoy moving your body and keeping active and everything. So, yeah, I love that story so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like in terms of the soccer scene as well, I've heard a few things in Melbourne about like how it could be a bit like there's a bit of nepotism, bit of bribery and stuff. Like, can you talk to us about the scene and what it encompasses? Like, how do you get these opportunities to further yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you just got to put yourself out there. Like, you got to perform well, big games and stuff like that. Like for me, as soon as I moved out from school, I got an opportunity to trial with Central Coast Mariners, and I signed on from there. So, you know, ever since then, my name's kind of been out there, you know, and I've got an opportunity to trial at different teams across the mainland. Oh, if we're from Tassie, we call it the mainland. So you guys probably aren't familiar with that term, but if you're Tasmanian, Australia is not the mainland. It's where all the big people are at. So yeah, but obviously in Melbourne, the level's pretty good. It's pretty high. Up there, you know, Sydney and Melbourne, they're the top NPLs in Australia. So, you know, I got the opportunity to trial with Green Gully and I gave it everything I had. And then, you know, once you're in, you just got to make sure you maintain a good standard, and then, you know, your name kind of gets around the leagues and stuff like that. So you just got to make sure you keep putting in the work, keep consistent, like don't let your standards drop, and then you should stay in amongst that standard.
100%. One thing that I've discovered sort of interviewing people like yourself who've done it a little bit differently or have pursued a pathway that they're truly in love with is the art of networking and the art of putting yourself out there. It's such like, it's such a cliche. I feel like so many people speak so much about it, but the importance of it is incredible. You never know when someone's gonna tap you on the shoulder, or hit you up and be like, hey, like, do you want to come down to this trial? Or for myself, it's like, oh, I'd love for you to shoot some content for our store and stuff. So yeah, such an incredible incentive or insight as well. Talk to us about it. Like, were you sort of in charge of putting yourself out there? Were your parents a big hand in that as well?
I had this guy down in Tasmania. He used to be a professional goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Physiques. So he used to play over in England, things like that. So he knew a lot of people around Australia, a lot of different coaches, things like that. And as well as my old state coach, Anthony Alexander, he helped me out a lot. He had a few contacts up in one in Mackay in the Queensland NPL. So that was my first ever trial that I went to up in Mackay in the stinking hot with all the sugar canes and stuff up there and the crocodiles. So yeah, I went up there to start with. But yeah, once you've got a few people knowing your name, like that Alex Sizak, he helped me get me the trial at Central Coast. And then from there, other coaches can kind of see who the youth players are at certain teams and stuff. And then I've got highlight reels and things like that. So all that stuff, like for me, social media has been a big thing. Like I've got an Instagram page. I've got 2 accounts. Like one account used to be solely just for soccer training and like gym stuff. So I just used to put all my training sessions on that just so try and, hopefully a coach sees it or hopefully a scout sees it and stuff like that. So, which works. Like a lot of people used to say to me, and they still do because it's kind of transitioned into my PT page now. But yeah, a lot of people used to say like it's good and you can see that you're putting in the hard work and stuff like that. So it kind of helped. I just tried to give myself the best chance with certain things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The power of social media is just incredible. I mean, that's how we've connected. I mean, obviously through Eliza. But yeah, I think if you can't find opportunities to put yourself out there or to get in and amongst the scene, start posting about it, start documenting about it. Like, such an advocate for it. When you record your training, it's something to look back on for yourself, but also for potential scouts and opportunities that might pop up in the future. So yeah, love that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's really important to jot down your journey and post stuff about it. And so, other people can see, all right, this is where he is now. Like that's what he's done in the past to help him get there. So, if I could, not that I'm up here and, I've still got a lot to do and I still want to go a lot further. But, for someone down in Tasmania or something like that, they might be like, oh, I want to get to where he's gone. Then, they can see what I've done. I've tried to put it out there as much as I can. So,
100%. Yeah. What's something that's pretty unspoken about when, you're trying to make it into a big league or trying to get your name out there that not many people talk about that you found helps a lot?
For me, I think having, a strong mentality is such a big thing. Just not giving up when, shit hits the fan or stuff gets hard, because a lot of people will say, oh, as soon as it gets a bit uncomfortable or they're struggling a little bit, they'll just be like, oh, it's not for me. It's not worked out. But, this journey for me has been up and down a lot. Where you learn is when you're in the lows. That's where you get the experience that you need to make the highs better, so you can actually have those highs. Because if you don't have the struggles, then you'll never actually experience where you want to get to. So, for me, I've had plenty of injuries and stuff like that. Well, not heaps, but when I was at Central Coast, my first preseason game, broke my thumb, stuff like that. When I was on trial there, before I even signed, I broke my thumb in the warm-up. Then I played a full game after that. You just have to have a strong mind to really, push the boundaries and keep going. There's plenty of points, in all aspects of life. I'm sure you've had it with, different areas of your life as well, where you just think, oh, maybe it's not for me. But you'll never know, until the door's completely shut. You may as well just keep giving it a crack, so...
Growth happens outside the comfort zone and when you're uncomfortable. So 100% resonate with that. And sort of you mentioned the idea of you being an underdog in some situations. And I can imagine, trialing for big clubs as well. How do you manage the stress and what motivates you to sort of stay in the game?
Yeah, well, at the moment, the club I'm at, Green Gully, there's another senior keeper there called Liam Driscoll. He's one of my best mates now. I actually train him in the gym as well. So, we get along really well. But when I first signed for Green Gully, obviously he's the number one and I'm the number two. We've got that competition between us. Yeah, to be fair, he's been a top bloke. Most goalkeepers at different teams, sometimes there's tension and things like that. But yeah, I don't really feel that with him. So it's just a good competition. It drives, you drive one person, he drives you. just constantly really pushing each other. So yeah, as kind of an underdog, or if you're like a number two, or you don't have the top spot in your sport or your job or whatever, that should motivate you to just keep on going further and further. And if it doesn't, then you're probably not in the right job or whatever. So yeah, it's just about learning to keep pushing, even when you think like you're not going to get that or whatever, because there's plenty of other opportunities out there. And you always get your chance, and you just got to take it.
Brilliant. Yeah. I love that mentality as well. Have there been moments where you've considered, like, why me? Like, why am I the number two sort of thing? Or has that never crossed your mind?
Yeah, to be honest, like, since I've been young, like, there's been a fair bit of that. I've always been the younger keeper coming into teams. Like, I've always found myself being the younger keeper. Like, I moved to a NPL team down in Tassie when I was like 16. And I was a few years younger than the number one keeper there, and he was really talented, like best keeper in the state, things like that. And I was like, I'd always, try to think that I'd push harder, work harder than him and stuff like that. But, sometimes you get your chance, but yeah, it's just about keeping on pushing, and, hard work always beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, the classic quote. So I just try and keep, stuff like that in the back of my head and remember why I'm doing it. But you also got to, wind it back a notch and just think, all right, I'm doing it because I actually enjoy playing this sport and you love it. And, like whether you're playing or not, you're still training every week and you get to turn up, you get paid for what you do. Well, when you get to a level that you get paid, it's like, you're doing a sport and you get paid for it. It's pretty unreal. So
100%. I think like I asked the why me question because so many people that I come across do start to, question themselves or question like the other person and look outwards instead of looking within and being like, well, what am I missing? Like, what is this person that's beating me doing that I'm not doing, and how can I be better in that aspect? So I can imagine that would have been the case when you came into these teams as the younger underdog keeper.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, you got to look at, you do have to look at external sources, like what are they doing? What can I do better? But yeah, at the end of the day, I was having a chat to my goalkeeper coach last night. It's like, you really have to focus on yourself, and think, what can you do better? Can you push harder in certain areas? Are you sleeping right? Are you eating right? Like, there's so many different external factors that are still within yourself that, you got to make sure you're doing it right to give yourself the best chance. So yeah,
100%. You mentioned like in different clubs there might be tensions between the goalkeepers and like the number one and the number two. Can totally imagine that because I guess in a full game the keeper typically stays on unless they're injured. What's it like being a keeper? I can imagine like you're the one that's like meant to be stopping the goals, and you probably cop the most flack when you do let in goals, but really it's like a team thing. But I feel like from a fan's perspective, everyone's like, oh, like the keeper's shit, doing all this stuff wrong, blah, 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 blah. Like, how do you let that in? How do you navigate like the external noise and also the stress of being a keeper? Like you're the one on the end of the line to stop the balls going in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, there's a lot of pressure on you and stuff, but I think the biggest thing is to just try and enjoy yourself. Like, if you put too much pressure on yourself, like, oh, better not make a mistake today, or, you're trying too hard, that's when you just crumble. And like, up here, a few games last year, you get people behind your goals screaming out, like they find out what your name is and they start screaming at you. You're like, you're going to let the goals in, like, you're no good and all this stuff. So, it's just about getting into that zone where you can just concentrate on your actions and you're just watching the ball. But like for me, staying, involved in the game, communicating with my team really loud, then it blocks out a bit of the other noise. And then, yeah, you're constantly watching the ball, you're constantly switched on. So, yeah, stuff like that really helps me. But in terms of like thinking about the game and stuff before, like some people say, oh, do you think about the game before you sleep and stuff? But, I just don't. Like, I care about it a lot, but I think I play best when I don't think about it. Like I get in the car and I go to my game. And then once I get to my game, then I start preparing for the game.
Yeah, what's the ritual like? Like, what do you have a particular what do they call it? I guess like ritual, but oh my god, what's that word?
Like a pre-game kind of.
Yeah, a superstition. There we go. Yeah, like some people, I don't know, put their left boot on before their right boot or something like that. They tie their laces in a different way. They listen to a particular song. Like, what gets you in the groove, or are you just happy to just go on in?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, usually as I just make sure I have a coffee before my game, so my brain's switched on. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes, a lot of the time we play on a Friday night, so I would have, as a PT, sometimes get up at 3:30 or whatever, and then you got to play at 8 or 9 p.m. that night. It's like it's a big day, so just making sure have a bit of caffeine and stuff like that. But I don't really have any like superstitions and stuff. I just make sure I get to the game, walk on the pitch, have a look at the goal mouth, see if it's any good, suss out if it's the ground sticky or whatever. But yeah, when I go out onto the pitch and go to my goal, I usually just make sure I touch the middle of the crossbar, jump up and touch the middle of the crossbar, and then I go to the penalty spot, do a couple of jumps, and that's what I do every game. So other than that, simple.
Yeah, simple as
just give it a good crack. That's all that I'm worried about. So
100%. I love that so much. Like you adopt this really almost stoic, I would say, like stoic mentality when it comes to playing. I think a lot of people rattle under the pressure and they crumble a lot. Has there been a piece of advice that you've taken from like a coach or a mentor that has really stuck with you?
In terms of like holding yourself well, like against pressure and stuff, not really. I mean, it's just for me, just make sure I just give it my best. I just say to myself before I go out, your attitude has to be good, your work ethic has to be good, and you can have a crap game on the ball or you can make a mistake, but as long as your attitude's in the right spot and you give it everything you got, then you've done what you can. Like, everyone makes mistakes. So I don't stress over, if I'm going to make a mistake, I just make sure I give it my best. And then generally you play good. Like, if you don't leave it up to, putting pressure on yourself, then that's where it gets crap. If you start to put pressure on yourself too much, then that's where you tend to make mistakes. So
yeah, I feel like I've heard a lot of podcasts, particularly Dill and Friends. Like he interviews a lot of AFL players, and the one thing they talk about is like the mindset and the mentality behind it. And you hear like, I don't know, like your David Goggins and people like that who just talk about how it's all in the head and it's all a mental game. And I think a lot of players definitely, feel the pressure, but most of the time that's like pressure from themselves. And they're, just like sort of in their own head sort of thing. So yeah, it's such an interesting discussion. I'd love to get like a sports psychologist on or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've worked, particularly when I was at Mariners, I worked with a few people just like, we get people in to like talk about, mentality and stuff like that for games. Back in A-League training, we have like little kind of seminar things with psychologists and stuff like that, just to like, really give us the edge over other teams almost with, the mental side of it. Because it's such a big part of like sport, business, everything, like if you're not prepared mentally and you don't know, what's going on in your head, like physically you can be in great shape, but if your head's in pieces, then, that's where a lot of people will struggle. So
absolutely. Now, Reef, you've moved from Tassie to Melbourne. Can you talk to us a bit about this journey and how you've navigated the move and what the transition's like? You have a coffee before a game. I feel like that's very Melburnian of you. So
true.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit about it. Like you've moved out at 20?
I moved out at 18, soon as I left school, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like gone are the days where kids are leaving their house at 18. I don't know everyone's circumstances, obviously, but I've lived pretty like central, and a lot of kids aren't even considering buying a house as well. I feel like just, I guess, the economy and everything.
True, yeah,
but,
inflation.
Yeah, inflation, all those words. But talk to us a bit about it. Like it's not an easy task. I think a lot of parents dial it back a little like, oh yeah, just move out sort of thing. But what was that experience like for you?
For me, the first couple of years were definitely the hardest. Like that's where I learnt the most, moving at home. Your mum doesn't cook for you, do your washing, stuff like that. You don't have your family there to chat to whenever you want. Like you can give a phone call and stuff, but it's just not the same. So, like when I moved to the Central Coast, obviously I was 18, had no experience living away from home. So, just getting used to like not seeing them every day or every week. Like I'd see them, maybe every 3, 4, 5 months. And then especially when COVID happened and stuff, it was just, like it got to a point there I was locked in my room, for a couple of months. And like because I was at professional team, we were allowed to train. So I'd go there, train, get back and just play on PlayStation because I wasn't allowed out of my house. So, that gets a bit scary. But as you get more experience and stuff and you start to grow up and, bit of independence and things like that. So, yeah, this is like, my 4th year, going into my 4th year, pretty much living away from home. So now, I had all those challenges, so I can take all the stuff that I've learned into now, which I did last year, and, that was the best year of my life. So you soon learn what works and what doesn't work, but, I just know that, like, family and friends are always there, and I've made lots of good connections up here in Melbourne, to be fair. It's a good place to live, so, yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest takeaway for you has been? You know, like you don't see your parents and family members as well, but is there something that people don't really speak about when you move out of home?
Just making sure you've got good people surrounding you. Like for me, like becoming good mates with a lot of my teammates. Like, I moved in, to be fair, at the start of last year, I was living with random people all year. Like I literally searched up on Facebook, rooms for rent in Melbourne, and I was just living with randoms all year. So now I'm living with a couple of my teammates, which is really good. So, it gets easier as the years go on. You start to get a bit more comfortable. You've got better mates and stuff like that. But yeah, like at the start of last year, I was like, oh, what am I going to do today in my off season? Go to the beach by myself, do stuff by yourself. But you eventually build those connections and stuff. And then, it gets a lot easier. So
has anything in particular worked the best for you in terms of putting yourself out there? I think like the main inhibitor for people moving out is like, oh fuck, like I'm not going to be able to make friends and those sorts of things. I remember one of my friends moved to the UK as well, and not on her own volition. Like she didn't want to go, but unfortunately she had to, and now she's like posted it with like groups of friends and everything, so eventually it makes its way out. But I think when you're in it and you're feeling alone and you're going to the beach by yourself, it can be some of the worst days ever. So what has worked for you? For me, like just putting yourself out there, like obviously I'm a PT now at the gym, but when I first moved into Melbourne, I wasn't. Like I was still studying, so just going up and chatting to people at the gym or whatever, and, going to watch sport. Like sometimes I go by myself, but eventually, you become mates with a few people, then you can bring a few, then they bring their mates, stuff, become mates with them. But, now that I'm a coach at Crew, like, you see people every day and you become good mates with a lot of them and stuff. Like went and did a CrossFit competition with, I think we had like 70 people from our gym after the season last year. So, you quickly become good mates with people, but it's just about putting yourself out there. Like, if you feel sorry for yourself and, I've got no mates and stuff, then, that's where you have no mates. So you just got to make the effort. Yeah. And then that's what does it for you. So definitely. I think, when you invest in putting energy out, I think it definitely comes back in spades as well. Like you get so much back when you put yourself out in situations. Like I feel like sport and going out and those sorts of things just bring people together, particularly when you're moving your body and everything. Like you could go to a random, I don't know, let's say Pilates class or something, and then just like befriend someone that's like on the bed next to you or something, or on the mat next to you. Like just doing those social activities really brings, I guess, like connection and community as well. Yeah. Talk to us about this PT gig as well. Obviously had to find some way to make money other than playing professionally. What was that all like? Had PT always stuck out to you?
From a young age, like I had a lot of growing pains and stuff when I was young, like 12, 13. I grew really quickly.
Osteoarthritis?
Yes.
I see it. I'm looking at the knees.
Yeah, you can see the big lump there. Yeah, it was terrible, man.
Like, it's shit.
I had it on both knees, and like I got to stages on crutches and things like that.
On
I just
crutches, fuck.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Oh, mate.
Not a good time.
Yeah.
Did you have it as well?
I did, yeah. I got the lump on my knee. It didn't get to the extent where it was crutches, but I feel like I was playing basketball at a young age and went for a layup and then fell pretty heavily on it, and oh my god, that was like
it's
horrid.
Terrible pain.
Yeah, and you just fear for your knees essentially. But talk to us about it. So you've had this growing pain and you've wanted to help people, I guess. Yeah,
pretty much. So that's where I found my love for the gym. Like I started doing like rehab stuff with bands and things like that and physio, just to kind of help get a bit stronger, around my knees, glutes and things like that to support it. And then eventually I started hitting the gym when I was like 15, 16.
Classic. I feel like that's
like the teenage
age.
And get the big chest and the abs and stuff like that. So but no, I found my love for it then and just been hitting it hard since then. Had a strength and conditioning coach back in Tassie. His name was Sam Rosetto. So big shout out to him. He helps me a lot, to be fair. Like, I used to be really good at endurance, but like in terms of like anaerobic stuff like sprinting and, like for goalkeeping, even diving, I wasn't very explosive and stuff. So I really worked hard on that, so that became like a good trade of mine. Gym's helped a lot with that. So, I just found a love for being in the gym. Yeah. Always loved being in the gym, and I love helping people. Like that's just how I am. So, it kind of worked out good. I love being in the gym and helping people. So I was like, oh, well, I'll start doing my Cert 3 and 4 and ticked that off last year. And then, I've been coaching at Crew since March, the group classes, which I absolutely love. Like, we've got a good system there, good schedule, plenty of people there, which is good. And then I started one-on-ones, like face-to-face stuff in November. So only a couple of months ago.
Pretty fresh.
Yeah, pretty fresh, but no, enjoying it. Got a couple of younger kids and then got a couple of older guys and stuff. Got a couple and yeah, so no, it's going good.
That's
going
good,
man.
Would you say it's like tailored towards like the soccer aspect, or are you happy to like keep it sort of separate and more like a functional strength and conditioning coach?
I do a bit of both. So I train athletes, but then I'm also happy to just take on general population clients that, they just got their everyday like fat loss goals or strength goals. But then, yeah, I really enjoy, tailored programs towards athletes and things like that because that's, my niche. That's where, I've been dealing with that for a long time. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. I enjoy working with athletes and trying to help them improve their game and, give them a bit of insight to how it helped me and trying to help them get better at their game. So, yeah.
Definitely, man. How underrated is having a strength and conditioning coach when you're at a young age? I feel like when I went to the gym, like I'm so grateful for mum. She's a PT and everything and got me at workshop gym, and they had this program called Young Guns, and they would teach us, the foundations of how to move, how to squat, how to move your body in like a functional way. How underrated is it?
Oh, it's so underrated, man. Like, a lot of people just say like, oh, hamstring injuries, quad injuries, whatever, or they feel like they can't move quick enough or, they want to change direction or jump higher and stuff like that. So, for me, like touch wood, but I never like get any muscular related injuries and things like that, because I've got myself to a certain point where, you're not saying it will never happen. Like it can happen whenever, but if you give yourself the best chance for it not to happen, like injury prevention, strength work, stuff like that, then, you give yourself a good shot. So yeah, it really helps improve my game, to be honest. Like I've noticed a big difference from it. So
definitely. I think when you look at, so for me, it's like AFL jumps to mind straight away. I think like the first year players always take so long to develop. Like they're all very lanky, lean, and then their goal is like in the second and third year to put on size. And I feel like that's also preventable when you enroll and get your kids in the gym and have strength and conditioning coaches, because it's just like, it's paramount to being able to be a functional player or even just being a functional person as well in everyday life.
Yeah, it's super important, man. Like I'm just glad that, I got in the gym and, had physios and stuff, at an early age. So it really helped push me forward with my game. Like, I was doing all the soccer training, but, most days in the morning I'd be in the gym trying to, help that side of things as well. Like I used to be really light, like similar height to what I am now, but like 70 kilos and now up to like 92, 93. So
big
yeah,
dogs.
It's a good playing weight. Like I feel good and stuff. I feel strong, so yeah, and I can still move well, like run good, feel fit and stuff. So you just got to find that happy medium of, you don't want to be like, big bodybuilder kind of thing. Well, depends. Like you can be, there's nothing wrong with that. And, but if you're playing sport, like, for soccer, for example, most people don't want to be a bodybuilder if they're playing soccer.
Like an Akron Fenwa or something.
Yeah,
just like running the
literally
pitch.
just like 140 kilos, just muscle target man kind of vibes, Akron Fenwa. But
literally, just sit in the centre and just bully kids off the ball.
Yeah, just see how
literally.
Knock them over.
What's a day in the life like for you? Sort of like if we look at, actually, no, let's go week in the life, because I feel like there'd be lots of training, physio appointments, maybe even sports psychologists. But talk to us a bit about the life of like a professional, can we say professional soccer player?
It's like semi-professional
Semi-pro
at the moment. Yeah.
Talk to us about the week in the life of a semi-pro.
All right, so week in the life. All right, so usually I got classes and like my own PTs throughout the mornings. So the classes will go from 5 through to about 10:30. So I've got those a few days a week, and then I also have my own clients in and around that. So I usually finish up work 10:30, 11 o'clock. After that, I usually have a few hours just to chill out, do some admin stuff on my computer. Like if I have any, social media posts I want to design and stuff, or content I need to film, that's when I get a good chance to do that, like mid-afternoon. And yeah, have a few meetings and stuff throughout the week with my boss, things like that, see how things are going, try and track stuff, see what I can do differently. And then we usually train 3 nights a week. So usually it's like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday night for soccer training. So yeah, get Tuesday and Friday night off. Like it depends when our game is. Like for example, this week, we're playing Tuesday and Saturday. So we trained Monday night, like last night. We're training Thursday. So we get a bit of a, day off after the game and then a day off before the next game. So Yeah, we usually play one game a week in season, and then I use my Sundays just recovery. Yeah.
What's your go-to recovery? I feel like people are hitting the saunas or hitting the ice baths. What's your go-to?
Oh, go-to for me is I go 3 rounds sauna and ice bath. So I usually do about 15 minutes in a sauna, and then I go about 3 minutes in an ice bath, and then I just do 3 rounds of that, and then usually feel pretty prime after that. And I like to do it like Sunday evening, like 5 or 6 o'clock, just so I feel, the sauna obviously takes it out of you a bit, so you feel sleepy. So sleep good Sunday night, and then wake up ready for a good week.
Brilliant. Yeah. For like a young aspiring athlete, or maybe just someone who wants to like pursue what they want to do you have any advice for someone who's like stuck on something that they want to do but want to pursue it?
Just make sure you're doing extras. Like think about what parts of your game are lacking compared to others, maybe in your certain position, things like that. Like obviously you want to work. Like if you're a fullback in soccer, you don't want to work on, you don't necessarily need to work on your shooting that much. You might work on your passing or, stuff like that, or like work on defending with your brother or something. So it's just working on specific things that are going to help you, as a player or an athlete, whatever your sport is. And then obviously getting in the gym, making sure you're sleeping well is a big one. I know like for me, my job sometimes is a bit hard. Like tonight, for example, I probably won't get home from my game till 11, and then I've got to get up at 3:30 for PT. So, it's hard to get 8 hours sometimes, but, you just got to make do. But, yeah, eating's a big thing, like eating right. Make sure you're getting, good fuel source in, getting good carbs, fats and proteins. If you don't understand too much about nutrition, then trying to, learn a bit more about that. Even just if you're a kid, just talk to your parents, make sure you're getting fed good and, have your fast food here and there. But, try and keep it mostly whole foods, stuff like that. Definitely. Yeah.
What's your favourite like meal?
Oh, like what, takeaway or something?
Oh.
Or just in general?
Just in general, like what does a meal look like in terms of like, are you just breakfast, lunch, dinner, or are you like breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner? That sort of
at
thing?
the moment, so I'm sitting on about 3,700 calories, which is like
far
maintenance.
Out. 3,700 calories. Oh my god. Yeah, far out.
Yeah,
I guess you're just so active as well.
Yeah, I burn a lot of calories through the day, so it's kind of, I need a lot of carbs particularly just to give me good energy, and then proteins to, help me recover from the gym, soccer, things like that. But yeah, at the moment, I usually eat my breakfast around in between the classes in the morning, like, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, have overnight oats. And then I usually have second meal at about 10 or 11, which this week is pesto pasta with chicken.
Oy, love it. That's a good meal.
Yeah, it's solid. You can't complain. You can't go wrong.
Literally.
And then I usually have like a bit of beef mince, like rice and veggies at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then I usually have 2 chicken meals a day. So I'm having another chicken pesto for dinner. But, like the thing with meal plans is like sometimes it gets boring, or like it doesn't always have to be, but just eating good whole foods and stuff, like I'll have a few snacks throughout the day. Like I've got a Carmen's like protein bar, a banana. Like sometimes I have a smoothie. I also have a bowl of cereal. I usually allow myself like 100 grams of cereal, like Milo cereal or Nutri-Grain or something.
Good carbs.
Yeah.
Rate it.
I usually have it for dessert after dinner.
That's it.
Decent.
Are you on the YoPro at all?
Yeah, sometimes I have it in my oats in the morning.
Yeah.
Right
it. So for the Gen Pop or people that are struggling with like balancing everything, like you seem so busy and switched on, like what keeps you motivated and what are you thinking when you're super tired? Like after tonight you're going to be wrecked, but then have to wake up at 3:30. Like what's going through your head?
I mean, for me, it's just about like being dedicated to what you want to do. Like, if you have a goal, have your reset over the weekend, but, in the week, you really got to work for it. And then, relax on the weekend, do whatever you want. But for me, like, obviously, it is my job to get up early, so I've got no choice. Like, and I like getting up early. Like, it doesn't bother me. So, and I think it's good to be finished work by, midday or something like that. And then you got a few hours to just, like, chill out. If I really am, like, cooked, then I can have a bit of a nap in the afternoon if I want. But if it is not like your job, like say you're doing a 9 to 5 and, you think, oh, I might go to the gym after work. Like, even if you're not a morning person, like a lot of people throw the I'm not a morning person card at you straight away. But like, I could say I'm not a morning person because I like sleeping in. But, if you want to achieve your goals, you got to get uncomfortable. So, sometimes going to the gym, like if you start at 9, you can go at 6 or 7 and you're fine. You got plenty of time, and then you can chill out at night or do whatever else you need to do. So I think for me, getting like your gym or, you know, your little goals that you want to achieve out of the way in the morning when you first wake up. You got the most energy and stuff like that, or have a cold shower and then go do it. And then, you know, you're wide awake. So
How
do
good's
that.
A cold shower?
Oh, so good, man.
Right,
You know, it's uncomfortable sometimes,
Yeah.
but sometimes you never want to do it, but, you know,
Yeah.
it
So
wakes you up.
You speak a lot about goal setting and setting like the right goals in so that you can check it off. Have you got any systems in place where you're like, okay, like this is like my to-do list, or have you got like a, you know, some people have like a board up and they've got like their, oh my God, I've lost the word.
Like a vision board.
Vision board, yeah. So like, do you have anything like that? Like any rituals in place, or are you sort of just driven towards the fact that you want to go pro?
Basically, like obviously with soccer, it's just about pushing as hard as I can every week, training, games, just every opportunity I get going as hard as I can. In terms of PT, we've got a bit of a tracking system to keep myself accountable. So like, am I calling people like potential leads and stuff? How many am I converting? Stuff like that. And then I have like end goals, you know, how much money I need to make per week, blah, 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 to achieve that. How much am I need to save? Like, so yeah, I kind of break it all down. So I understand, okay, this is what it takes to get that goal in this amount of years. So yeah, I've been working on that a lot with my boss, Steve. So yeah, he's been really good.
Definitely. What sort of worked for you? I love asking people about this, like the systems that they have. Are you like on an Excel spreadsheet? Are you on Notion? Like what sort of software are you using? And I guess like it looks like the breakdown, but what's worked for you?
At the moment, my boss and I, we're on like Excel spreadsheets. Like he's worked out good formulas and stuff to make it all work, like track on that, and the numbers all, like you type in a few things and it like goes into a calculator and it just like looks good, looks tidy.
Love an Excel spreadsheet.
But
so
yeah,
good,
and
yeah.
I track all my finances and stuff on there as well. Like he's sorted me out like a finance tracker. So even before like I went out and started PT, you know, every week, Sunday, sit down, do my finances, like expenses into certain categories, you know, income, stuff like that. So you can see the differences each month. I think that's really important. Like a lot of people don't know where their money goes, or they're like, oh, I can't afford, you know, PT, or I can't afford to go, you know, have dinner or whatever. But they don't actually look, okay, this is where my money goes in the week. You know, like you can easily chip down certain things so you can afford stuff that you want to do. Like you might want a boxing coach or whatever it may be. Like, you know, if you really sit down and break down the finances a bit, then quite easily you can, you know, save a few extra $100 a week or whatever. But yeah.
100%, man. There's like a plethora of content on YouTube, or in your case, which so lucky, like you've got someone to sit you down and almost be like a financial advisor for you. But I think, yeah, that's like one of the big goals for me this year is to like get on top of finances and just know like where money is going. Like, is it going to like 2 sushi rolls after work or something? And that's like $6, maybe $8. And that's like $8 a week that's like going down towards like sushi or something, when I could be meal prepping and saving money in that way. Or yeah, just like tracking where your money actually goes. I think like we're not taught that as well. So having someone in your corner to be able to track that is incredible.
Yeah, it's been really good having like, you know, Steve's been my mentor all through last year. Before, you know, I work with him now in business, like as a PT, but you know, before then he was helping me finish my certificates. But yeah, if you don't have a mentor, definitely, you know, if you really want to achieve stuff or, you know, learn stuff about life, you know, earning money, where to put it, stuff like that. Like, you know, even investing like shares and stuff like that. Just having someone who's a bit older than you, like it's good, you know, they've been through certain things and they can teach you like, you know, here's where I made mistakes. So, you know, if I were you, I'd do this so you don't make those mistakes, stuff like that. Like even like your parents and stuff like that. Like, a lot of kids go, oh, I don't want to listen to my parents. You know, like it's a classic, oh, whatever they say and just go and do your own thing. But, you know, I tried to take on majority of the stuff that my parents said to me and, you know, respect to them, you know, because, you know, it works. So fair play.
100%. It's like you're in the position that you are in today because of them. Yeah, incredible. I feel like hanging out with people that are older than you who've lived through a lot of shit helps you learn to not make the same mistakes that they've done. Like cheeky life hack out there for anyone. Yeah, literally, like what's a key takeaway that you would say for people who like want to get on top of their finances but aren't too sure how to?
For me, like I find myself, you know, coffees and smoothie kills me usually. So yeah, just making sure you sit down, you know, on a Sunday, whether, you know, you have a partner or a family or whatever, you know, see what you could be, you know, wasting money on, and then say, all right, I want to make it my goal to, save an extra $50 or $100 here by, taking out that, acai bowl, or taking out, the Guzman or whatever, or maybe if you've been a bit lazy with meal prep, even like, getting on top of that, save you money because you don't have to buy takeaway, because you don't have anything prepared, just stuff like that. It's simple things, sometimes it can be annoying, you can't be asked doing meal prep and stuff, but to be honest, that's the main one. Like, food's obviously expensive these days, so, it's nothing for me to spend $200 on meals, like just meal prep in a week, but yeah.
Absolutely. I think like you look at the grocery bill after you might have done a meal prep and you're like, fuck, that's a lot of money. But think of it as like spread out across the week, or like per meal as well. Like, how many meals does this batch make me? And then I guess that works a little bit better. Mate, so Eliza's obviously put us in touch. What's it like navigating a relationship and playing semi-pro?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, like, it's only fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been really supportive of me, which is good. Got a great family and stuff like that, so they're all into their sports. Bruce, her dad, actually came to watch me play the other day, like while she was at work, so it's good to have him there supporting. But yeah, Eliza's coming to all my games and stuff, which is good. So
Cute.
It's nice to have someone there that supports you and stuff through the good times and the bad times and whatnot. So yeah, it's good. And she plays footy herself, so I'll be going to watch her play footy and just screaming at her when she doesn't tackle them hard enough and stuff. Yeah, she'll go pretty hard, I'm sure. I watched her play futsal the other week, and the way she was kicking some of the blokes, I was like, yeah, she'll have no problem tackling people. So
I love it. That's so good. Yeah, because I think like when you surround yourself with people, whether that's a partner or friends as well, like when they're sort of on the right direction or on the right track that you are also on, it makes it like very easy to sort of blend the lives together in a way. So yeah, so incredible. Mate, what's next for you? Like you're talking a bit about like going pro as well, like, and you say that you're going in to like try your hardest and everything. How does that all work? Like, you're trying your hardest every day, but is there like a date in mind or a goal in mind where you might like get promoted into a team or move over into a different team? Like, what's that looking like?
For me, like, obviously as a goalkeeper, and I'm 21, we tend to have a bit more time. Like, goalkeepers, obviously, you're not doing as much running as outfield players. It's not quite as taxing on the body. So a lot of goalkeepers can last, if they want to, up 40 years old, close to. So
what's his name? Buffon?
Yeah.
He's so old, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like, I don't know, mid-40s or something.
Far out. Is he still playing? No, he's not still playing, is he?
I think he retired. I think.
Okay.
But,
I'm not.
Man, like, like potentially I've got another 20 years. Like, I haven't even been playing for 20 years.
That's
so
incredible.
If you think about that, like, I'm just kind of taking it 1 year at a time, and again, I'm giving it your best. Like, just giving it a good crack, and then if I get really sick of it, then I might take it back a notch and just play for a bit of fun. But I'm someone who like struggles to, like, I play for fun, but that is in a high level environment that pushes me because I like pushing myself. Same with like I went to Tassie for Christmas and stuff, and I just go, like, I did a half marathon over like a hiking track because I just like pushing my limits and stuff, and just like seeing what I can do, because once you start to push your limits and you get in the gym and you do running and you keep ticking goals and you get better and fitter, and it's amazing to see what your body can achieve, man. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at. Like, there's obviously a lot of room for improvement, but everyone should have that mindset. Otherwise, if you don't, then you can't get content with yourself. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, man. I think because we're in such a high pressure environment, and whether that's like social media as a contributor or just like how the world is right now, there's just so many things to do. It's like once you graduate high school, you got to go to uni, and then once you've got the degree, you got to go work, and then you got to buy a house, and then and there's just so many things to juggle as well. I'm sort of like extrapolating from your career as a goalkeeper. It's like you're young, you're developing, so take that time to develop as well. Don't feel the need to like rush straight into it, because you never know, like an injury could happen or so, like touch wood, nothing happens. But it's so incredible to hear that mindset as well. And I think we need to adopt that more into like our everyday lives as well. Like, we're all going to die one day. There's no doubt about it. But, trying to make the life as long and as prosperous as possible is probably like the best way to go about it. Like, I don't see the point in sort of rushing life and jumping straight into, like your big boy job and stuff. Like, obviously you have to put money on the table and everything, but I think life is just so fast paced at the moment, and it's just good to slow down and take the foot off the pedal a little bit, but obviously have that long-term goal in mind.
Yeah. I know for me, like, in terms of long-term goals, like I'll have to buy an investment property by the time I'm 25. Like at the moment, that's a goal I'm trying to work towards. So, having something like that in mind is good. But yeah, it's just like with my soccer and my PT, like obviously I need to start a PT, out doing face-to-face stuff. Like the class is really good and stuff like that. But, you turn up and then the clients book into the classes. Whereas, for me, face-to-face clients is like, all right, if I don't get clients, then I'll make no money. So it's like, taking it one step at a time, trying to talk to people, hopefully I can really build that up over the next few years and get fully booked out and stuff like that, and then kind of transition to a bit of online stuff. Like that's where I love to work towards. But yeah, at the moment, just got to hustle, head down, ass up kind of vibes. So
that's it, man. So I was watching this video on YouTube by James Smith. Do you know him? Yeah, James. Funny as fuck. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so funny. Anyway, he was saying how he moved from the UK to Sydney, Australia, and Sydney's bloody expensive, man. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you've been. Yeah, I don't know if you've been, but fuck. Oh,
yeah, I was there on the weekend.
Oh, the prices are just. Anyway, won't go down that rabbit hole. But he was saying like Melbourne, or not Melbourne, Australia is like one of the best places to live in terms of you can have your PT job, or you can work at a cafe and earn your rate, or earn enough that covers rent, and then go off and live your life and do something that you love. And I just love that simple life essentially, and it's almost the life that you're emulating. Like you're obviously working towards your professional soccer career as well, but you've got something that's sustainable. And I think we need to sort of dial it back a little and understand that is okay. Like it's okay to have a job that's not like corporate or earning you 6 figures or 5 figures as soon as you graduate university.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like obviously starting out, like essentially starting your own business, like trying to get, my own clients and stuff like that. Obviously like Steve, he'll try and help me get clients and he's doing everything he can. But yeah, starting off like at the moment, like, it'll be the lowest income I'll have because obviously you only get more clients, stuff like that. I've got that money there, every week from soccer, which is really good. So that's, an added bonus of playing at a high level, but just trying to graft and get more clients. But yeah, obviously it's good. Like, I feel like I'm not even working that much because I love what I do. So, being at the gym all morning, seeing people that I enjoy hanging out with and teaching them how to become fit and improve themselves, it's great, man. Like,
that's it, mate. It's like you do something that you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, it literally feels like I'm not working. So, it's good. I love it, man.
It's such a blessed life, and I think we can absolutely live that life and be happy doing it as well. So,
yeah,
incredible, mate. Is there anything you want to leave on, like for maybe aspiring athletes or even like some life advice as well? Like this podcast is all about career, and I think you've sort of fleshed it out quite nicely. Like you talked about the professional career and sort of having that dream and working towards it and blocking out the noise. And I really appreciate your time for it. But is there something you'd like to leave on?
I think I touched on it before, but just having the strength to just like not give up when things get hard. Like that's a big thing that especially as the years go on, like parents aren't really teaching their kids that as much. Like I'm thankful that my parents have drilled that into me, that like just because things get hard, it doesn't mean that it's not the right thing. It might just mean that you're learning a lot of stuff to help you get to that position in your job or whatever you want to do. Because if you don't learn that stuff, then you literally wouldn't have the tools to make it. So yeah, just literally don't give up on, what you want to do.
Love it.
Just keep giving it a crack. And then if it eventually doesn't work out, then try something else, but that will help you do that thing that something else. So
love it. And I guess those failures or those downfalls, like you'll absolutely learn so much from that. Actually, haven't even asked. Have you had times where you've been told no? And like what was that hardship like?
Yeah, I have. So basically, when I was at Mariners, we went into like lockdown and things like that, and then that was at the end of the A-League season. I got called back for A-League pre-season, was doing that for a couple of months, and then it like got real bad, the lockdown, stuff like that. They pretty much said, you're not quite good enough to be the number 2 like with the A-League squad. And I was 19. Yeah, I'm 19 at that point. So they said, we'd like you to go out and get some more senior games under your belt, at an NPL team, stuff like that. And then, stay in touch with you and things like that. So essentially, I got let go from there. So from then on, I went back to Tassie. Like, it was an absolute mission to get back to Tassie at that point as well. Like G2, G pass and all this stuff. And
oh my God, wait, that
got
actually
told,
just triggers. Oh my God,
man,
what?
So I got told like you got to have a G2, G pass, stuff like that. And then they wouldn't let me back into Tassie for ages. And then, I was stuck on the Central Coast without a soccer team. Just like, what am I going to do? And then I had a police officer from Hobart and Tassie. They called me up and they were like, "Oh, we've got a room for rent, not room for quarantine." It was not rent. It was quarantine.
Right. Oh, because you have to do the 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was hotel quarantine down in Launceston, where I was from for 2 weeks. So once they called me and said we got one room there, I was so happy, man. Like I had to go and do the quarantine for the 2 weeks, but after I'd done that, then got out, saw my family and stuff, and I was free for a bit. And then literally, I think I was in Tassie after I came out of quarantine, 2 days maybe, and then I flew to the Gold Coast and played for Gold Coast Knights. I was so happy to be back, and then 2 days later I signed for Gold Coast Knights and went straight to Cairns for the Australia Cup game or something. So
what were you thinking when they told you no? Like it can be one of the worst things ever. And I guess, was that like the first time in your life that you've been told no for like a soccer opportunity?
Just trying to think back. Yeah, it pretty much was. Like, I went on a trial at Mackay before Mariners and I got offered a contract there. And then the week later I went to Mariners and trialled and I got offered that contract. So I signed there because that was a professional team. That was kind of a bit of a kick in the stomach. But, then, got a reset after that and went and played for Gold Coast Knights for a bit. And then after that, signed back down in Tassie just for, one season with a team called Glenorchy Knights in the NPL. They just won the league the year before I got there. So went down and had a crack with them. And then, it wasn't too bad of a year. I mean, I had some problems and stuff, like personal problems that year. So, just mentally, it was a pretty hard year for me. But then, in off-season, Green Gully have been contacting me and stuff and wanted me to come for a trial. So, went for a trial there and then I said I'll give it a good crack. And they offered me a spot there and then moved to Melbourne in Jan 2023.
Brilliant, man.
And kicked on from there.
Yeah, so it sounds like, from this whole podcast, it sounds like you're such a resilient person and have that long-term picture in mind. Would you say it was built off the back of being told no and also having like that dream when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think, just having that dream, but also just having my parents there to guide me, like having parents or, family or friends, that surround you, that can support you and stuff, like just, again, not giving up. And even like, I've had that many talks to my parents where I've been like, oh, stuff this. Like, I don't want to play soccer anymore. I'm sick of it. Like, I'll just go and get a, bricklaying or be a tradie or something. And then, they said, oh, you've come this far. Like, let it play out, give it a crack and see how it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, in terms of hardship, just had a few injuries and stuff. And then, sometimes you might not play well, you might get dropped, and it's just like, you think, oh, well, what's the point? Like, if you're not playing, then, yeah. But then you just got to have a good attitude, like, which I figured I learned a lot from the last few years. And then when I came into Green Gully, like, I could take those experiences into Green Gully and had, a really good year with them. So, yeah, got along really well with the coaches and all the group and stuff, and was supportive of Liam, the other keeper, when he was playing, and he was supportive of me when I was playing. And, yeah, it was really good, man.
Yeah, brilliant. So good. I think, the idea of resilience is pretty widely spoken about, but like when it comes from a source, like you've been through it and you've lived through it, and like it's incredible to hear sort of the way that you've adopted certain attitudes and stuff. Like, can you define a good attitude? Like, what does that ultimately look like for you? Like, you sound so supportive of another keeper that might be taking your spot, or like being told no and just still persisting as well and listening to your parents. Like, what is a good attitude in your eyes?
For me, like, a big thing is just like turning up on time. Like, when someone asks you to do something, like, make sure you get it done. If you can't get it done for whatever reason, like, communicate with them. Like, communicating, huge thing. Like, whether you're working or whatever, or it's your partner or anything, like, just making sure you have open, like, communication to them. Like, if something's not working out, or, you don't understand this role of your job, like, you know, don't leave it to chance and you might do it wrong. Like, talk to your boss, say, all right, I don't really understand this. Could you please explain it again? Stuff like that. But yeah, just giving it everything you got, just keeping a high standard for yourself. Like, don't let your standards drop. You know, like if people expect certain things of you, then even if you're tired, you know, have a good crack, like give it a good go, and then, you know, you can rest when you get home. So
Definitely, man.
yeah, just make sure you keep yourself accountable as well. Like, yeah, big thing, just turning up on time and doing what you need to do when you're there.
That's it. I think like a big thing that stands out to me is like when you are tired, when you run down, when you feel that things aren't going your way or you've been told no, like the small actions that you do, like that's when it counts. That's when it matters. And that's probably like when it builds you the most. Like you can be doing everything at an elite level when everything's all sunshine and rainbows. But as soon as shit hits the fan, like you don't know how to sort of cope with what's happening. So when things are down and you do continue to show up and live up to expectations or just getting the work done, like that's when it matters.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, it's the same thing with all aspects in life. Like, you know, when stuff gets hard or, you know, when you're not feeling it and you think you're going to give up and things like that, that's when it really counts. Like, you know, when I'm coaching, and even like this is just an example, but if people are finding the workout really hard or they're like really struggling, I'm like, now I tell them, all right, this is where it counts. Like, this is where it makes a difference. Like, now you got to keep going. Now you got to work harder. You got to push your limits. Like, same thing in your job, stuff like that. You know, it's easy to, you know, ride the highs, and, you know, when it's easy, you know, anyone can do that. You don't have to be anything special to do that. But when it gets crap, you know, when it's hard, and that's when you got to keep going. That's when, you know, you can't give in. Otherwise, that's, you know, that's what weak people do. So, like,
pretty much,
yeah,
hey,
pretty much.
No,
like,
that's it.
That's
stand by it.
How to say it straight. So
yeah, literally. Nah, I love it so much. Reef, it's been incredible chatting. I'm very appreciative of your time. I think like there's so much to dissect and learn from your story as well. Like whether you have a dream like yourself, like growing up really young, or you don't, I think the attitude that you hold when you do grow up and eventually find your way into something that you love doing or something that sort of puts money on the table, like having that good attitude is so incredible and such a staple to being a good person, I think, like just having a good life as well. Thank you so much for sharing your insight as well. I guess like where can people find you and how can people support you?
Yeah, no, it's been really good, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Been good to meet you and stuff as well. So yeah. In terms of like where to find me, I got a few Instagram pages, but my personal training one, you know, where I share all that sort of stuff, it's r.murfet.pt. And then the business I work for, we got MMP, like Mind Muscle Physiques. So it's MMP coaching. And then, yeah, the gym I work out of, obviously Crew Fitness and Performance. So
which suburbs that in?
They've got 3 locations. So they got one in Braybrook, one in Hoppers Crossing, and then one in Craigieburn.
Ooh, west side.
Yeah, the west side.
Yeah,
you know, the deep burbs area.
Love it. Where can they find you? Just like
I usually work out of Hoppers Crossing mostly.
Brilliant.
A bit out of Braybrook. So yeah, that's where I'll be.
Incredible, mate. I'm keen to follow your journey and see where life takes you, and I'll be rooting for you every step of the way. Really appreciate the chat. Be sure to follow @Life with Lam podcast, and we'll catch you in the next episode.